बोलायला चालू करा.
Good afternoon, student. Today we are going to learn the Kant philosophy, and from Kant philosophy we already learned the two paragraphs from this unprejudiced observer. Let us read the unprejudiced observer, which Hahnemann explained in aphorism number 6, and the sixth edition of Organon of Medicine. The unprejudiced observer, well aware of the futility, transcendental speculations which can receive no confirmation from experience, be his power of penetration ever so great, takes note of nothing in every individual disease except the changes in the health of the body and of the mind, which can be perceived externally by means of the senses. That is to say, he notices only the deviation from the former healthy state of the now diseased individual, which are felt by the patient himself, remarked by those around him, and observed by the physician. All these perceptible signs represent the disease in its whole extent. That is, together they form the true and only conceivable portrait of the disease. Yes, this is aphorism number 6, in which Hahnemann introduces you the necessity of the unprejudiced observer. You know, the prejudice means bias or which has a preconceived notion or his fixed idea prior to due examination of the patient. And Hahnemann advises you that you should avoid all these prejudices while case taking as well as for the selection of remedy, isn't it? Let us continue the Kant's philosophy. The teaching of this paragraph is that the symptoms represent to the intelligent physician all there is to be known of the nature of the sickness, that these symptoms represent the state of disorder, that sickness is only a change of state, and that all the physician has to do is correct the disordered state. Yes, Kant says that in this aphorism, how the intelligent physician perform, or the intelligent physician desire to know the nature of the sickness, isn't it? And already he have a knowledge that he has the knowledge what is the order of sickness. That is, the order of sickness is from center to periphery, and whatever is the exhibition of the symptom before him, he considered that there is some prior to this disorder, something, the exciting cause, some maintaining cause are there, and he tried to find out what the causative factor, how there is a derangement of the vital force, isn't it? Hahnemann, it seems, would say that it is great folly for a man to look into the organ themselves for the purpose of establishing a theory to find out whether the stomach makes the man sick or whether the stomach makes the liver sick, and such like. Yes, here Hahnemann or Kant advised that not organ or the man is prior to the organ. Whenever there is where the disease is located in a particular organ, that then you should consider that something there is a derangement or the disharmony of the vital force, and therefore there is an alteration in the sensation and function, and then disease is located in a particular organ, isn't it? We can only end in theory as long as we think that way. So long as we set the mind to thinking about the man's organs, and how these things are brought about, we are in confusion. Yes, Kent advised that if your ideas are restricted and your concepts are restricted only up to the organ, and you try to find out the disease organ rather than the sick or sick person or person as a whole, then there will be total confusion, isn't it? Because organ, whatever is a symptom manifested at the particular level, it is the last, you can say it is a very late stage in the development or the evolution of the disease. And if you consider the disease organ, then your concept of disease is very restricted and limited to that particular organ, and the confusion will create. Because why confusion is create? Because we are only thinking about the particular remedy and particular symptom of that particular disease, isn't it? But not so. When we meditate upon the symptom of the sick man as fully representing the nature of the disease, after these have been carefully written out, then what is the intelligent physician will do? Intelligent physician will take a proper case taking of the particular patient, and he know the concept of individualization, and therefore he try to find out that he meditate upon the symptom. Meditate upon the symptom means he try to find out how the symptoms are originated, how the disease is originated, and the symptom of the sick man. The symptom of the sick man. Who is sick man? The internal man is a sick, isn't it? And the internal man nothing but the vital force. And what is the nature of the vital force? It is a dynamic in nature. And how this disease is developed or originated at the dynamic level, and that lastly landing on the particular level, he tried to find out all this evolution of the disease. And after, when he got this? After careful case taking, isn't it? Hahnemann starts out in this paragraph by speaking of the unprejudiced observer. Yes, Hahnemann, while discussing the prerequisite qualities of the physician, in third aphorism, he explained all the qualities which should be possessed or which the physician must acquire. And in fourth aphorism, he also added one of the quality of the physician, that is a preserver of health. And the most important quality is the unprejudiced observer. Unprejudiced observer, the physician who never concluded, or he never make a conclusion of any remedy prior to the very detailed examination of the case, isn't it? And it is always happen in our daily practice that once there is a patient of fever and we prescribe Bryonia for that particular patient, then and if our second patient is also of the fever, and we try to find out the Bryonia in that particular patient, we ask or our question would be framed in this way that it is indicated the remedy Bryonia, and here we become prejudiced, isn't it? That therefore for every case you should be entering new area. Whenever a new case is, whenever a new patient is coming, then your whole mind is totally clear, empty, and you start your case taking with this clear and empty mind, without any preconceived notion or fixed ideas regarding the patient and regarding the disease also, isn't it? Let us take the next paragraph. It would almost seem impossible to find at the present time one who could be thus described. Yes, it is very impossible to examine our case with an unprejudiced mind. All men are prejudiced. Man is fixed in his politics, fixed in his religion, fixed in his ideas of medicine, and because of his prejudice, he cannot reason. You need only to talk to him a moment of this subject, and he will begin to tell you what he thinks. He will give you his opinion as if that had anything to do with it. Men of the present day cannot recognize law, and hence they are prejudiced. But when men have authority on which they can rest, then they can get rid of their prejudice. Suppose we have a large dictionary that we say in an authority on the spelling of word. If a club of 150 men who bought that dictionary and put it into a closet and say, that is how we agree to spell, that is a recognition by these men that the book is authority. There would be henceforth no argument on the question of spelling. But if there were no authority, one man would spell one way and another man in another way. There would be no standard of spelling. Such is the state of medicine at the present day. There is no standard authority. One book is authority in one school, and another school, they have another book, and so there is confusion. Men cannot get rid of their prejudices until they settle upon and recognize authority in homeopathy. In homeopathy, the law and its principle must be accepted as authority. When we know these, it is easy to accept them as authority. But seeing they are not known, there is no authority, and everybody is prejudiced. Men often ask, Doctor, what are your theories as to homeopathy? What are your theories of medicine? I have no theories. It is a thing that is settled from doctrine and principle, and I know nothing of theory. A woman came into my office this morning and said, Doctor, I have always been treated by an old school, but the doctors were unable to decide whether the liver made my stomach sick or stomach made the liver sick. This is only confusion. No organ can make the body sick. Man is prior to his organs. Parts of the body can be removed, and yet man will exist. There is no such thing as one organ making another sick. When we realize that the course of things is from center to circumference, we must admit that the stomach was caused to be in disorder from the center, and that the liver was caused to be in disorder from the center, but not that they made each other sick. One who has been taught such ideas cannot rid themselves of them for a long time. Yes, up to this we completed already, and now let us start the next paragraph. In this paragraph, we know why the physician should be an unprejudiced one, and when he become the unprejudiced one, when he rely on the doctrine and principle of homeopathy as a authority. One who has been taught such ideas cannot rid himself of them for a long time. It is a matter of years to get out of these whims and notions which we have embedded for our inheritance. We cannot rid ourselves of confusion until we learn what confusion is. Yes, first we know what is the confusion, what is our problem, then we will overcome this confusion or overcome this problem. In this paragraph, Hahnemann does not speak of changes of tissues or changes in the organs, but changes of state. Yes, whenever there is a deviation from the healthy state to disease state means it is a static one, and if there is some changes are there, the vital force is able to maintain its original state, isn't it? And therefore in this paragraph, Hahnemann not only advised you to note down all the signs and symptoms manifested or which are told by the patient himself, or whatever is the pathological changes develop in the organ or the tissue, but the changes of the state. That means whenever the person in a disease state as a whole, there is in healthy state, the healthy state is not only represent there is absence of symptom, while the healthy state is represented at the mental level, physical level, as well as the particular level. All the sensation and function of the patient are going in a harmonious way. All the sensation and functions are in a regular way and harmoniously run by the vital force without any hurdle. And whenever there is a derangement of this vital force because of the dynamic disease force, this harmony of the vital force may result into the alteration in the sensation and function. And the alteration is not only exhibited or manifested at the particular organ, while this alteration exhibited at the mental level, mental plane, physical plane, and lastly at the particular plane, and a person as a whole transferred to the disease state. And that's why we have to noted down all the symptoms, all the changes which occur at the state level, that is all these three levels. You have to consider the patient as a whole, isn't it? Man could see and fade down changes, but these represent to the intelligent physician the nature of disease or disease cause. They only indicate that because of the disorder within certain results have followed. The unprejudiced observer can see that pathology does not represent the nature of the disease, because numerous so-called diseases can present the same pathology and the same phenomena. Yes, the intelligent physician never rely on the pathological changes, because the same pathological changes you can observe in a different different numerous type of diseases. Or for example, according to the allopathic point of view, we try to collect the symptom from the patient, and we only consider the common symptom of the patient, and we try to diagnose the patient and we treat accordingly. We prescribe those medicine for each and every patient of the same disorder, isn't it? For example, there is a patient of hypertension, we collect the symptom from the patient and label this patient as it is a patient of hypertension and prescribe those medicine which are recommended for the or which are called as a hypertensive medicine. And if there are 10 patients, our prescription will be same, isn't it? While in homeopathy, we never rely on this pathological symptom or the common symptom of the disease, but we search for the individuality of that particular patient, isn't it? Because these pathological changes, same type of pathological changes can occur in the numerous diseases, and therefore we are not consider these pathological changes for the treatment point of view, isn't it? The trouble is that at there so few unprejudiced observers. But Kent says that it is a very problem because this phenomena only considered by very few physicians as because of their unprejudiceness. Very little number of homeopathic physicians know this unprejudicedness and they try to individualize their patient, isn't it? They are not considered the diagnosis of the disease for the therapeutic purpose, isn't it? Then in the next paragraph, Kent advise you how to overcome our prejudice. To get rid of our prejudices is the first thing we must do in study of homeopathy. Yes, it is a prerequisite quality of physician that you must get rid of our prejudices. You must learn how to overcome our prejudice, isn't it? Therefore, let me beg of you, while sitting in this room, to lay aside all that you have heretofore imagined or presumed, the whims and notion, and what I thought about it. Yes, what I thought about it means my opinion. Science is not depend on the opinion of the particular person, or it is not change according to the person to person, but the principle and law, these are fixed, isn't it? There is no value of opinion of person, what I thought about it, because the opinions are differ from person to person, and therefore whenever you sitting in this room means while taking a case taking, prior to start your case taking, your mind should be a very clear one. Your mind must totally without any whims and notion prior to the disease or regarding the disease or with the particular patient or with a particular disease also, isn't it? And very clear mind you start your case taking. The things that you have learned from men and books and only follow after learned principles, things that cannot deceive, cannot vary. Then after case taking, according to your principle and law, if you work out this case, that it cannot deceive. That means it is never wrong, it is always in a correct way. Even law will deceive if man is of prejudice. Deceive means it is a cheating, but with a sense that you are not going to cheat. म्हणजे डिसीव्ह म्हणजे तसं पाहिलं तर फसवणूक आपण ज्याला म्हणू, पण फसवणूक पण अशी जशी की जसं काही म्हणजे वाटतच नाही की हा एखादा माणूस माणसाला वाटतच नाही की तो फसवला गेलेला आहे, इतकं त्याला त्या खरेपणाचं पूर्ण स्वरूप आणलं असतं. म्हणजे ते खरंच वाटतं, ॲक्च्युली ते चिटिंग असतं. तर हे जे लॉ आणि प्रिन्सिपल जे आपण म्हणतो आहे, हे देखील आपल्याला कधीकधी फसवू शकतात. किंवा जर आपण ऑलरेडी जर प्रेजुडिस असू, तर आपल्या डोक्यात प्रेजुडिस मीन्स काही फिक्स आयडिया असतील समजा, तर हे लॉ आणि प्रिन्सिपल जरी आपण ते अभ्यास केले तरी ते आपण चुकीच्या पद्धतीने समजून घेऊ शकतो. म्हणजे त्याचा चुकीच्या पद्धतीने आपण अर्थ लावू शकतो. इट इज जस्ट ॲज अ माल ऑब्झर्वेशन, इजंट इट? इवन लॉ विल डिसीव इफ मॅन इज ऑफ प्रेजुडिस माइंड. जर माणसाच्या डोक्यात जर पहिलेच काही कल्पना, पहिलेच काही त्याच्या आयडिया असतील आणि पहिलेच त्याने एखाद्या वेगळ्या दृष्टिकोनातून बघण्याचा जर त्याचा स्वभाव असेल असं म्हणू आपण, किंवा तसं त्याला ट्रेन केलं गेलं असेल, किंवा त्याने तो स्वतः तसा मोल्ड झाला असेल, तर त्याचा माइंड जर प्रेजुडिस असेल तर त्याला तो लॉ आणि डॉक्ट्रिन देखील व्यवस्थितरित्या समजावून घेऊ शकत नाही. त्याला तो जे समजून घेईल ते चुकीचं जरी असेल तरी तेच त्याला खरं वाटेल. म्हणून त्यांनी म्हटलं आहे की इवन लॉ विल डिसीव इफ मॅन इज ऑफ प्रेजुडिस माइंड, बिकॉज then he misread the law and doctrine, and when things are called black, they look to him white. Every image is inverted in his prejudiced mind, because he realizes only with his senses, and sees with his eyes, and feels with his fingers only the appearance of things. Just as we say that the sun rises, judging from our eyes, although we know from our intelligence that it does not rise. Yes, here a very best example is given by Dr. Kent, that we with our sense organ or with our eyes we see that the sun rises, isn't it? But is it correct? Whenever we apply our intelligence, then we know that yes, as we see the sun rises, but it does not rises, while this, or because of the movement of the earth, we feel that sun rises. Therefore, whatever we observe in our patient, it may be whatever we look or whatever we observe in our patient, but through our intelligence it may be different. If we believe our senses only, we will accept all the notions of man. That means if we apply our sense organ, if we see with our eyes, and seeing and developing a vision, it is the two different thing, isn't it? The seeing by the application of our sense organ or by application of our eyes, then there is a without application of our intelligence, it may be wrong. If the senses were invariable, men would agree, but they are variable, and no two men will agree in everything. For just as man's observation differs, so different notions and theories will be established. Yes, if the science is depending on the opinion of different person, different person may have different opinion, and different men have their different observation according to their senses and according to their intelligence also. Therefore science, therefore whatever is the concept developed, these are all according with the men, and as the men are different, their opinions are different, and therefore these are not fixed. These are all change according to person, and develop some confusion, develop some different notions and theories, and therefore it is not a science. You must try to get rid of the prejudices that we have been born with and educated to. Yes, if you want to overcome our prejudice, then we have been born with and educated into. That means we apply our sense organ, and these are all trained, very skillfully trained. Skillfully trained means have a knowledge and educate into, so that we can examine the principles and doctrines of homeopathy and seek to verify them. Yes, with very open-minded mind, very clear mind, you accept all this theory, clear your concept, and know the law and doctrine, law and principles of homeopathy, and then train your all sense organ to see a thing with a very different view. That means by the application of our intelligence, isn't it? If you cannot put aside your prejudice, the principles will be folly to you. जर तुम्ही तुमचा प्रेजुडिसेसवर ओव्हरकम करू शकत नसाल आणि तुम्ही तुमचंच म्हणणं जर खरं आहे आणि तेच धरून जर चालणार असाल, तर प्रिन्सिपल्स विल बी फॉली टू यू. मीन दीज आर ऑल युजलेस टू एनी पर्सन who have his own fixed ideas, isn't it? That's why if you want to become an unprejudiced observer, your mind will be always open to accept the science, to accept the light, isn't it? इथे जर आपण सरळ आपण म्हणू की जर आपल्या मनाची, आपल्या बुद्धीची जर दरवाजे, आपल्या मेंदूचे दरवाजे जर उघडे असतील, तर त्याच्यातच ज्ञानाचा प्रकाश आत येऊ शकेल. आणि जर ज्ञान मिळालं, इफ यू करेक्टली इंटरप्रेट द थिंग्स, then you would be a unprejudiced observer, isn't it? That means you always apply your intelligence. Why this happen? How this happen? Why, when this happen? And according to the scientific application of your mind for every patient, then it will be proved homeopathy as a science. And therefore Kent told you that the unprejudiced observer is the only true scientist. Yes, scientist, you know, scientist who is a person who apply his knowledge or apply his intelligence and explain some phenomena of the nature. He perceives in each individual affection nothing but changes of state. The unprejudiced observer, who is the true scientist, he perceives in each individual affection. That means in each and every case, in each and every individual patient, or in case of disease, he consider the changes which occur at the state level, how the healthy state transfer to disease state. The changes of state are such as are observed by the patient when he say he is forgetful, that his mind does not operate as it did, that he is often in a state of confusion, that when he attempts to deliver a sentence, a part of it goes away from him, the idea passes away, or that he is becoming irritable whereas he was pleasant, that he is becoming sad whereas he was cheerful before, that there are changes in his affection, in his desire and aversion. Yes, very beautiful example given by Dr. Kent, that how the changes of the state you have to observe. The changes of state are such as are observed by the patient when he says he is forgetful. दॅट हिज माइंड डज नॉट ऑपरेट ॲज इट डीड. दॅट मीन्स तो पेशंट म्हणतो आहे की माझा आजकाल विसराळूपणा वाढत आहे. याचाच अर्थ असा की तो ह्यापूर्वी विसराळू नव्हता, हा तो फॉरगेटफुल नव्हता. म्हणजे तो आता त्याचा तो वाढतो आहे हे त्यांनी ऑब्झर्व केलेलं आहे, पेशंटने ऑब्झर्व केलेलं आहे आणि तो तुम्हाला सांगतो. इट इज क्वाईट अ सब्जेक्टिव्ह सिम्पटम. दॅट ही इज ऑफन इन अ स्टेट ऑफ कन्फ्युजन. आणि तो हे पण सांगतो की आजकाल मला खूप कन्फ्युजन माझं वाढलेलं आहे, माझा विसराळूपणा वाढलेला आहे. दॅट व्हेन ही अटेम्प्ट्स टू डिलिव्हर अ सेंटेन्स अ पार्ट ऑफ इट गोज अवे फ्रॉम हिम. की बोलता बोलता त्याला जे बोलायचं असतं ते देखील तो विसरून जातो, इतका त्याचा फॉरगेटफुलनेस वाढलेला आहे. तो काय बोलला आहे त्याला आठवत नाही, त्याच्यामुळे आणखी कन्फ्युजन क्रिएट झालेलं आहे. द आयडिया पासेस अवे. त्याच्या डोक्यात जे काही कल्पना असतात त्या पटकन तो विसरून जातो. ऑर दॅट ही इज बिकमिंग इरिटेबल. किंवा तो हे पण सांगू शकेल की तो आता खूप इरिटेबल झालेला आहे, चिडचिडा झालेला आहे. याचाच अर्थ असा की तो याच्या आधी नव्हता. व्हेअर ॲज ही वॉज प्लीझंट दॅट इज बिकमिंग सॅड. किंवा तो असं पण सांगू शकतो, म्हणजे पेशंट सिम्पटम सांगतात की आजकाल त्याला खूप नर्वस राहतो आहे, त्याला खूप मोरोज राहतो आहे, सॅडनेस त्याचा डेव्हलप झाला. की याचा अर्थ असा की तो याच्या आधी तो आनंदी होता आहे ना. तर whereas he was pleasant, that is he was becoming sad. Whereas he was cheerful before, that there are changes in his affection, his desires and aversion. Isn't it? These changes are not only occur at the mental state, while these are affected at the physical also, and his desires also get changed, altered, his aversions also altered. Note it down because these are the symptom of the internal man. These are all subjective symptom, and the importance of the subjective symptom, you know it these are occur at the very initial level of disease, and therefore it exhibit these are the symptom of internal man, and therefore these mental symptoms, these desires and aversion are very important. These things relate to states, not to disease tissue. Yes, these things relates to state. म्हणजे हे सिम्पटम, मेंटल सिम्पटम, डिझायर्स, ॲव्हर्जन, हे सर्व हे कोणाचे सिम्पटम आहे? हे इंटरनल मॅनचे सिम्पटम आहे. हे त्याच्या स्टेटचे सिम्पटम आहेत की ते जे आता चेंज झालेले आहेत. हे सिम्पटम त्या पहिल्यांदा डिसीज झाला, पहिले पॅथॉलॉजिकल चेंजेस झाल्या आणि नंतर हे सिम्पटम डेव्हलप झाले असं नाही आहे. तर आधी ते सिम्पटम, द डिसीज डेव्हलप ॲट द first disease, there is alteration of the symptom or manifestation of the symptom at the mental level, then at the physical level, and lastly at the particular level, and then the pathological changes are developed. The pathological changes, it is not a beginning of the disease, while it is a ultimate, it is the end point of the disease evolution, isn't it? So these are the all symptoms of the state, not to the disease tissue, but to a state of disorder or want of harmony. Yes, as the patient is very much disturbed by his forgetfulness, as the patient is very much disturbed by his sadness, unhappiness, that means he is sick, or he desire for the harmony which he had experienced in his healthy state, isn't it? That is according to Dr. Finke, expresses it as a distunment. Yes, distunment with the state of health, distunment with the nature, and distunment with the environment. And therefore there is very haphazard, or patient very haphazardly react to the environment or the stimuli, you can say. After the patient has related everything he can about his change of state, the physician may be aided by information from outsider, from relatives who look upon the patient with goodwill, who wish him well. Yes, if the patient is not able to, or if you want the more inquiry regarding the mental state of the patient, then you can ask the more information from his relative, isn't it? And after the patient has related everything he can about to change his state, the physician may aided by information from outsider, from relatives, and whatever is a guideline for this, asking this information from the outsider, that means who wish him well, जे लोक त्या पेशंटच्या बाबतीत चांगली भावना ठेवतात, जो पेशंट बरा व्हावा असं ज्यांना वाटतं आहे, अशी सद्भावना असलेल्याच लोकांना तुम्ही पेशंटच्या स्वभावाविषयी किंवा आणखी त्याच्या सिम्पटमविषयी आणखी इन्फॉर्मेशन घेऊन त्याचं पिक्चर क्लिअर करू शकता. इफ द हजबंड बी सी, it is well to get the wife's testimony. After the physician has written down all the information in accordance with the direction of aphorism number 85 for the taking of the case, he then commences to observe as much as he can concerning the disorder, but more particularly those things which the patient would conceal or cannot relate or does not know. Yes, you know the aphorism number 83 to 104. Hahnemann give very important guideline for the effectual case taking, and according to the aphorism number 85, you have to ask this aphorism is related to the cross section examination of the patient. That means after whatever is the spontaneous information given by the patient while the process of the case taking, then in order to complete the symptom, you can ask more question or more skillful questions to the patient, and take out the more information, isn't it? And you can take the more information concerning the disorder, concerning the disease, and particularly if you want some information is hid by the patient, isn't it? So you can ask more questions to the patient. It is a cross section examination. त्याचं तुम्ही त्यांना आपल्याला असं वाटतं की हे आवश्यक आहे आणि ते पेशंट हा लपवतो आहे, तर you may frame your question in very skillful way to take out the information. आणि while case taking, you don't hesitate that what is the consequences of this your case taking in detail. It is very useful for the patient. He desired to narrate all these symptoms, but he don't know the importance of giving such type of or telling all this type of symptom, and that's why you know the importance of the symptom, and that's why you try to find out or you have to take out from the patient. Many patients do not know that they are awkward, that they do peculiar and strange things in the doctor's office, things that they would not do in health, and these are evidences of change of state. Yes, it is very good explanation given by Dr. Kent. Not only asking the question, but your observation, you apply your all sense organ while taking the case. All your sense organ should be very skillfully trained. You observe the patient, you observe body language of the patient, you observe whatever is the expressions or emotions flow from his eyes. You should observe the facial expression, you should observe the body language of the patient. Sometimes many patients are awkward and they don't know they are awkward, but doing some strange thing in your office. म्हणजे केस टेकिंग घेताना ते काहीतरी स्ट्रेंज मोमेंट करतात की त्यांना देखील माहिती नसतं की आपण असं काही करतो आहे. स्पेसिफिकली इन केस ऑफ चिल्ड्रन यू कॅन ऑब्झर्व सच थिंग. की डॉक्टरच्या केबिनमध्ये आल्यानंतर लहान मुलं असं काहीतरी चित्रविचित्र हावभाव करतात, कारण त्यांना ते खूप ऑकवर्ड वाटतं, नवीन वाटतं, थोडीशी भीती पण असते. आणि मग ते त्यांच्या जे काही पॅरेंट्स असतात, आई असते, बाबा असतात, त्यांच्यासोबत ते काहीतरी विचित्र करतात. यू मस्ट ऑब्झर्व, युअर ऑब्झर्वेशन शुड बी अ व्हेरी कीन वन, अँड यू ऑब्झर्व दिस बॉडी लँग्वेज ऑफ द पेशंट, इजंट इट? बिकॉज these are the evidences of change of state. The physician also notes what he sees, notes odor, the sounds of organ, chest sound, intensity of fever by his hand or by a thermometer, etc. When he has gone over this entire image, including everything that can represent a disease, he has secured all that is of real value to him. Yes, की आपण पुष्कळदा असं होमिओपॅथीबद्दल गैरसमज आहेत किंवा फिजिकल एक्झामिनेशन होत नाही. बट यू मस्ट नो द इम्पॉर्टन्स ऑफ द फिजिकल एक्झामिनेशन, नॉट ओनली द for the satisfaction of the patient, but it create a good impression of the doctor also, isn't it? And patient चा जो कॉन्फिडन्स आहे डॉक्टरप्रती तो आणखी वाढतो. त्याला असं वाटतं की नाही, चला बा, या डॉक्टरलाही काहीतरी एक्झामिनेशन माहिती आहे, याला पण नॉलेज आहे, असं म्हणजे काही फक्त ते दाखवण्यासाठी नाही, तर खूप सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन तुम्हाला फिजिकल एक्झामिनेशनपासून मिळू शकते. द फिजिशियन ऑल्सो नोट्स व्हॉट ही सीज. येस, त्यांनी त्याच्या डोळ्यांनी काय ऑब्झर्व केलेलं आहे. पर्टिक्युलरली आत्ताच सांगितलं मी तुम्हाला की व्हॉट एव्हर इज अ एक्सप्रेशन थ्रू हिज आईज, फेशियल एक्सप्रेशन, हिज बॉडी लँग्वेज, एव्हरीथिंग यू हॅव टू ऑब्झर्व विथ युअर आईज. देन notes odor, or whatever is the discharges are there, or the odor of his body, or the foul smelling of his body, or some patients are dirty looking and dirty smell, or specifically the discharges, the odor of discharges. These are all characteristic feature, isn't it? Then the sounds of organ. Your ear must be, or it is a function of ear. Your ear should be very skillfully trained to hear the very different type of sound in different disease condition. Specifically in case of respiratory diseases, this sound of the respiratory system, that is rhonchi, crepitation, wheezing, normal respiratory sound, all this you should well acquainted with all these sounds of the respiratory system. Similarly, the heart sound, murmur, and the various type of this heart sound change in different type of disease. You must your ear must be very well trained with this different type of sound. Then the intensity of fever by his hand or by a thermometer. Yes, in case of fever you must have a knowledge of the intensity of fever, and you should always measure it by thermometer. Never rely on by touching or by your hand, isn't it? All these are the sign, yet these are all important. When he has gone over this entire image, including everything that can represent the disease. Yes, that means not only the subjective symptom, but these signs are also very important in order to complete your case, or in order to make the symptom characteristic and peculiar, isn't it? Because these are all the representation of the disease. He has secured all that is of real value to him. What if there are changes in tissue present? There is nothing in the nature of diseased tissue to point to a remedy. It is only a result of disease. Yes, similarly, you must go through the all pathological investigation. You must advise your patient for the pathological investigation, because if there are changes in tissue present, if some pathological changes are developed, there is nothing in the nature of disease. Yes, it is not represent a disease, and it is not at all important for the therapeutic point of view, isn't it? It is never indicate a remedy, and you never use this sign of the disease for the prescription, isn't it? Because it is only a result of disease. It is not a symptom of state. It is not a symptom of that particular patient. It is not a symptom of that particular internal man, not that particular individual, isn't it? That's why you only note it down. Whatever the pathological changes are occurred, but it is not a target of our treatment. Understand? Suppose there is an abdominal tumor or tumor of the mammary gland. There is nothing in the fact that it is a tumor or in the aspect of the tumor that would be lead you to the nature of the change of state. Yes, the example is given by him that suppose there is an abdominal tumor or tumor of a mammary gland. हा जो ट्यूमर डेव्हलप झालेला आहे तर इट इज अ पॅथॉलॉजी, इजंट इट? Prior to this pathology, that means the disease is located in a particular organ and pathology changes, tissues changes are there, but it is not a tumor or an aspect of the tumor that would lead you to the nature of the change of the state. But this tumor is this pathological changes, it is a end result of it is a ultimate of the disease process. It is not a state of that particular individual, isn't it? Therefore, the pathological changes are not the target of our treatment. The things that you can see, that is, the changes in the tissues, are of the least importance, but what you perceive in the patient himself, how he moves and acts, are manifestations of what is going on in the internal economy. Yes, in this paragraph he clearly explained the individuality which you have to consider for the therapeutic point of view. This individuality is only important for the selection of homeopathy remedy, isn't it? That means the things which you can see, that is which you can observe through your sense organ, that is the sign. In one term, it is the sign. The things that you can see, that is the changes in the tissues, are of the least important. Yes, these are all least important. Why this least important? Least important for the selection of remedy, because our target is not only treat the disease organ, our target is not only to treat the particular pathology which is developed in that particular patient, while our target is to treat the patient as a whole. We consider the patient as a person, isn't it? Not only his organ and not only his system and not only the pathological changes occur during the course of disease, isn't it? While what you perceive in the patient himself, how he moves and acts, his functions and sensations are manifestations, are what is going on in the internal economy. Yes, whatever is the internal economy, म्हणजे त्याचे मेंटल सिम्पटम काय आहे, तो कसा वागतो आहे, त्याच्या काय इमोशन्स आहेत, काय भावभावना आहेत, काय त्याच्यामध्ये काय चेंजेस आलेले आहेत, हे आपल्यासाठी म्हणजे तो एक व्यक्ती म्हणून काय आहे, तो एक इंडिव्हिज्युअल पेशंट म्हणून काय आहे, तो एक माणूस म्हणून काय आहे, हे बघणं आपल्याला खूप महत्त्वाचं आहे. कारण दीज आर द ओनली सिम्पटम विच आर ऑफ हिज इकॉनॉमी. ते त्या स्वतःचे त्या पेशंटचे एक व्यक्ती म्हणून, एक पर्सन म्हणून सिम्पटम आहे, इजंट इट? A state of disorder represents its nature to man by signs and symptoms, and these are things to be prescribed upon. Yes, therefore, you should not only rely on the symptom, you should not rely only on the sign. While with the combination of this totality of symptom, you make the image of the disease in that particular individual. and then with the peculiarities, with this characteristic symptom, you try to select your remedy, isn't it? Take a case which as yet has no pathological changes, no morbid anatomy, one that has only functional changes. The collection of signs and symptoms present to the intelligent physician the nature of the state and he is clear as to the remedy. जिथे whenever there is no pathological changes, no morbid anatomy, then only functional changes are there, then it is very easy to select the medicine. But whenever the pathological changes are there, you know it is balanced by that. Whenever the pathological changes are developed, whenever all these signs are developed, all the characteristic or the mental symptoms are decrease in number. जे कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक पॅथॉलॉजिकल चेंजेस वाढतात तर कॅरेक्टरिस्टिक सिम्पटम कमी मिळतात त्या पेशंटमध्ये. बट इफ द पेशंट डज नॉट रिसीव दॅट रेमेडी, व्हॉट विल हॅपन? जर त्या पेशंटला जर ते मेडिसिन मिळालं नाही तर मग काय होईल? द केस विल गो ऑन फॉर अ व्हाईल, परहॅप्स फॉर 2 or 3 years, and when he returns to you on examination, you will find that he has cavities in his lungs or an abscess in his liver or albumin in the urine, etc. But if you whenever the case at the functional changes, whenever the functional changes are there and unfortunately this patient is not properly handled by the physician, then what happened? If he not receive a proper homeopathic remedy, it is frequently happen that the patient will receive the suppressive treatment and this ultimates into a very severe disease, isn't it? And whenever he visited to the next physician, he never correlate all these symptoms which occur previously at the mental level, at the physical level, and he do not consider at all, only he concentrate the pathological changes, isn't it? It is regarding the lecture number 6, and we completed almost the how to collect the symptom and what is the importance of the characteristic symptom which represent the patient as a whole or patient as a person. The rest of the lecture we will continue in next lecture, isn't it? Okay, thank you. नाही मेसमध्ये पण ते बंद नाही होतं. बॅक करू का?